Let me ask you a question. Some of you who have been around a long time, how many of you ever had an opportunity to meet a true spiritual leader, Christian leader, in this country or anywhere else, that was also nationally and internationally considered as a great man and woman of God? The people like, Oral Roberts, Esther Summerall, Kenneth Hagin, and those. And when you I was blessed, some of you were. How would you have felt if Oral Roberts, for instance, you're in a meeting somewhere, this Oral Roberts, and he picks you up and he gives you this long-winded prophecy? You think, okay, I'm not Jesus, but I'm Jesus Jr. Immediately, okay, I'm not Jesus, but woo, that brings me pretty close. Oral Roberts gave me this huge big prophecy. Oh my God. You would have believed it. Nobody would ever talk you out of it. You just received the second portion of the gospel. Hello? Are you out there? Now. Would you think if somebody as important as Jesus would prophesy to you while he was on the earth back then? If Jesus had prophesied to you when he was on the earth, do you think the people there would have taken it seriously? No, they didn't. Jesus wanted to go and raise up Lazarus. And he tells them to roll away the stone. And Martha is bickering. Lord, after 4 days now, he stinketh. We cannot roll away the stone now. I'll tell you what. If she was a guy and I was Jesus, I would just like, boom, flatten you. Jesus said, did I not tell you that if you only believe, you shall see the glory of God? Roll away the stone. After Lazarus was raised from the dead, he went everywhere. I mean, the whole city, then Bethany, all the way down to Jerusalem, everywhere. Many places with Jesus. At one time there, and I was looking at it yesterday, I think it's John chapter 12, yeah. Many people had come and gathered to hear Jesus, John chapter 12. And there were so many people, and they all came to hear Jesus, but they also wanted to see Lazarus. Yeah, that's right, because John 11 is the whole story about Lazarus. It's John chapter 12. Because the people also wanted to see Lazarus, it says there, the one that he's raised from the dead. Would you have been there? I would have been there, even if I had a broken leg. I would have dragged myself over there. First of all, I want to see and hear Jesus. And I want to check out this Lazarus. This is awesome. One of the greatest events of the time. But if you read on just a few verses, it says the Pharisees were getting ready and looking for an opportunity to kill Jesus. And they planned to also kill Lazarus because he's turned so many people away after Jesus since his resurrection and his testimony. Now, if back then Jesus had given you a prophecy, would you not believe it? Would you not hear it? Would you not believe it? And would you not act on it? He prophesied over Jerusalem on the donkey that day. You're going to be destroyed. Why? Because you did not know the time. This is our time. Oh, I know. That's fine, Lord. That's absolutely fine. No problem. No problem. I'm going to talk about it a whole lot more in the next few weeks. This is our time. This is our time. This is the moment that we were born for. Today is the hour. Today is the day of salvation. Today is the day of the mercy, the grace, and the glory of God for the hungry church, even for the religious church, the dead church. Oh my God, even if you're born again, God's favor is just coming towards you right now because of this amazing time. Why was Jerusalem destroyed? They didn't listen. And they didn't know the time. Luke chapter 19, verse 44. Luke 19, 44. Jesus said, all of this shall be destroyed because you did not know the time of your visitation. That's what happened with the Pharisees 2 years ago. They're standing at the place and looking at the person of visitation. God, the Lord Jesus Christ. They're talking to God. They don't know who he is. They don't know anything. They don't know the time. They don't know that they're experiencing a visitation with Jesus and his life and his ministry. And so they all would be killed too, be destroyed because they did not know the time. This is the reason why the church in the very near future is not going to be able to escape God's judgment of fire that will fall on her soon. Because nobody is listening. As I said here, be careful and don't refuse to listen when God speaks. Israel refused to listen to him when he spoke to them on earth from a mountain. And so they did not escape. What did that mean? They died, and the next 40 years, all of them fell in the wilderness. Now, God is speaking from heaven. Now when? When it's the time for this particular prophecy? Well, it's hit the time slot now. It's its time. Right now, 2024. 2024, we are there. Who's going to believe it? Who's even hearing me? Those people refuse. Now God is speaking from heaven. So now, if we do not listen, we will be worse for us if we now refuse to listen to him who now speaks to us from heaven. January and February, my precious wife Shelley, anybody else, go back to it. It's on our website, GabrielHeymans.com. On our website, GabrielHeymans.com. It's on YouTube. It's on my tube. Wherever you go in the water, it's a tube. You can ride it. It's everywhere. It's on my Facebook. It's on your face. It's everywhere. Everywhere these sermons, messages are recorded either for you or against you. You decide whether they're for you or against you. You decide whether you're going to act on them or not. You decide whether you're even going to listen to it or not. Now, I have got some, before we wrap this year, I've got some amazingly good stuff for you, real quick. So, at the temple, the Lord warned them, then gave the whole discourse, Matthew 24, 25, Luke 13, Luke 21, gave the whole discourse of the 7 years of tribulation that are coming and what will happen. Anybody listening? No. On the donkey, all of the city that I want to protect and so love is going to be destroyed because you did not know your time of visitation. Don't listen. Now, please understand this for a moment. Israel, especially in those days when Jesus was still on the earth, they lived by the clock, they lived by the calendar. They lived according to the ceremonies, the feasts, the new moons, the Sabbaths, the celebrations, the temple services, the appointments, the 3 major feasts of the year. Every year, they live according to the same calendar. The same Jewish calendar with the same requirements, commitments, services, sacrifices, dedications, more sacrifices, feasts, whatever. They were not stupid when it comes to understanding the times of God, the cycles of God, the seasons. They knew what 7 days meant. They knew what 7 years meant. They knew what 7 times 7 years meant. We got to be set free. The 49th year into the 50th, when you finish 49 years, the 50th year is the year of liberty. If you couldn't count, you would not have a year of liberty. If you don't count, you don't keep the Sabbath, and they'll probably throw you in jail, beat the hell out of you. So they knew the times, and they had to live by it because their skin depended on it. So what I'm going to show you now real quickly is important if you bear in mind that Israelites, the Jews, Israelites, even the generation in the time of Jesus, lived strictly by the clock and by the timetable of God set out for every year. They knew what 7 meant. They knew what 10 meant, 20. They knew what 49 and 50 meant. They knew what 70 meant, 80, etc., etc., etc. So now, after Jesus had spoken these judgments, he was crucified, he went to hell, he was raised on the third day. He showed himself for 40 days long. He showed himself alive, resurrected from the dead, with a sign of the nails in his hands, and with a hole in his side where they pierced him with a spear. Everybody could see it was him. His face still looked the same. His bodily appearance was still the same, but it was not the same body. It had turned from a permanent body to a quickened body with eternal life. Now, let me ask you this question. Is it fair to ask you this question? If you had been there, if we were there in the time of Jesus, would we have listened to what he was prophesying? He told them the judgment is coming. And when he stood before Pharaoh, the Jews said, let his blood or judgment be on us. Brrr, that's 40 years. And our children. Brrr, that's 70 or 80 years. Let his judgment be on us, our generation. Brrr, that's 40 years. And our children's generation. Brrr, that's 70, maybe 80. They understand what 70 years meant. They knew it was a generation. Many of them still understood what happened with the Babylonian captivity. These people were not stupid when it comes to numbers, as the church is. These people studied the cycles, the seasons, the measurements, the time periods of God. And they lived in a set of timetables and time cycles and sequences of time in their religion. So they knew by virtue of what they asked Jesus and what he told them that there will be a judgment at the end of the generation of themselves and their children, and it will be the end of the generation of the Lord. Sometimes the judgment is 70 years. Sometimes the judgment comes immediately after 70 years. These people knew this. All right. Now there are going to be some deadlines coming up in the future from then on that they're going to need to check into and be prepared for. The first one was the year 52. Now, remember, Jesus died and was resurrected in 32. Now, go 42, 52. Let's go to the year AD or the year 52. Now, they should have, maybe some of them were scared of that year, apprehensive at least, because it is year 70. From the time Herod began to restore the temple. So some of them were saying, you know what? Perhaps we need to be careful of this judgment. It's not going to. Jesus was crucified. We saw that. I think the judgment is going to be sooner. It's going to be 70 years from the time King Herod began to restore the Jewish temple. The year 52 was the 70th year of that, because the temple restoration was begun by Herod in 18 BC. So 52, that'd be 70 years. Nah, just forget it. Well, what about the next year, 53? That's the 71st year. So maybe the judgment is the next year. We need to watch out for it. Whew, we got through that. Okay. 2 deadlines. We're safe. We're going to keep on playing Russian roulette now. Boom. The year 52. No problem. The year 53. We got to pull the trigger again. Boom. Nothing. Just a blank. Made a noise. Just a blank. All right. So let's go on to the year 62. That's 80 years from the time Herod began to refurbish the temple. So we got to pull the trigger. Boom! No blood. We're fine. We're fine. 81st year. Okay. So 1, 2, 3. Bullet number 4. Number 4. The 81st year. Year 63. Boom! No. And so then they all got together in the year 63 and dedicate that temple of Herod, or rededicate that refurbished temple of the Lord, dedicated to the Lord in the year 63. Wow! No judgment now. Well, all right. So 4 times, boom, 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 we're clear. Oh, we got a problem. We got a problem. From 63 till 70. Now, Jesus' 70 years was 1 BC, October 2nd, to October 2nd, 69. But of course, they're looking at it as 70, not much difference anyway. So now they're thinking, 7 years can be bad. 7 years can be good, but 7 years can be bad. Oh, no. So I was there. So I got up and I said, listen, guys, we're going to die. Why? Because I'm the timekeeper. I'm the timekeeper for the church. So listen, guys, we're in trouble. It's 63 years, the temple is dedicated, everything is fine, everything seems hunky-dory. But you know what, a 7-year cycle, it can be good or bad. This one's going to be bad because it's the 70 years. It's the end of the generation, the 70 years. To them, it's clear. It's what it means when you say breakfast is at 8. It's that clear. Oh, there's a hurricane coming through. It's going to hit here tonight at 7 p.m. You got to get out by 5. You still have time. We understand that. And people fled with the hurricanes we've had lately. Get out of town. So we will listen to a hurricane deadline and get out. But God sets deadlines. Nobody cares nothing. So now they've had 4. Now there's a 5th one. It's 70 AD. So we're going to have to pull this trigger again. Boom, 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 boom. 4 blanks. We find we're okay. Now, in 68 and 60, I tell you, I feel the presence of God so strong. You better listen. In 68, the year 68 and 69, God, the Spirit of God, told the Jerusalem Christians, get out of this city. Leave Jerusalem and go and find refuge among the Gentiles. Why? They didn't have to ask him why. Because ever since the year 66, this is 68 and 69, the Jews started a rebellion against Rome. And the more Jews got involved, the more this thing grew, more heads to it. Anyway, now it's a war. But now they retreat to Jerusalem because they got these huge walls and everything, and they are going to stay in that city, and the Romans are going to come, and they're not going to be able to penetrate the city, and they'll fight them from the top of the wall, and they'll beat them. Are you crazy forever? Jesus told you the city will be destroyed. Jesus told you not one stone will be left upon the other of the temple. When? The judgment that is coming for his rejection. Let it be on our children and us. 70 to 80 years. We've gone to 63 years. God allowed them to finish that temple and rededicate. 7 years here is going to be trouble. 7 years is judgment. These people knew it. It's like, the time has moved back an hour. Now let me move into autumn, or as you call it, fall. We move to fall. So everybody knows if you invite somebody for supper tomorrow night and say, can you please show up at 7? They're not going to show up at 8 because the time has changed. The big thing is, for us, the time has totally changed. And most of it is good. And still, the church doesn't care. Now, quickly. Jesus, the generation of Jesus, the 70th year of Jesus' generation, expired on October 2nd of the year 69. Now count 6 months: October, November, December, January, February, March, April. So that brings you to April the 2nd. Add 12 days, and you get to April the 14th. When Titus and his army attacked the city and broke the doors, you know what day it was? The day of the feast of unleavened bread, Shagamotzi, because they rejected the living bread of God. The day before it was the Passover. They made it then. But when it came to the living bread, Shagamotzi, Titus got them. 1.1 million deaf people. But they didn't have hearing aids in those days. 1.1 million deaf, stupid, reckless, irresponsible, unbelieving Jews were martyred to death. Part of the city was locked down and they were starved to death. From April 14 to the end of August 27, 28. 1.1 million people died because they wouldn't listen to God and they didn't know the time. That is the organization that we are, heart and soul, part of today, the church.